Yeah.
Like, you know, when I need to relax, I don't smash my
So-
elbow.
I see that it's now 6:29. We're going to be starting in just a moment. You want to fire up on air? We're on air.
Yeah, Rena, do you want to tilt your screen down a little bit so we can see the top? Well, all I see is the very, very top of your head.
That's fine with
You
me.
should be seeing whatever,
Yeah, she's doing the Zoom.
oh,
Okay,
because of
there
the
you
Zoom.
go.
Because of the
Zoom.
Zoom. Yep, okay.
Okay.
Where the heck is my?
Tea, green tea.
All right, we have 6:30. We'll be bringing this meeting to order. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast live over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel on Facebook Live on the the Public Access Facebook channel. https://www.facebook.com/lunenburg-public-access-cable-157-427-270-975-305/. The recording can be found on the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel after the meeting. The meeting will be held in person at this location, which is the Bellata Room of the Town Hall. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended nor terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in any specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. Remote participation from a computer, please use the link below, which is for the, to join the public meeting. It's called https://us02web.zoom.us/j/852-439-26658. Meeting ID is 852-439-26658. From a telephone, dial the toll-free number 888-475-4499 and enter the webinar ID. Again, it's 852-4392-6658, followed by the pound sign. If you have not registered with Zoom, it will be asked for your name and your email address. No participant ID is required. Just press the pound sign when asked. Telephone users may dial *9 to request to speak after joining the meeting. Computer and app users may use the raise hand feature to request to speak. The agenda lists all topics which may be discussed at the meeting under those which are reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. I will now call us to order. First, we will do a roll call, since we have a member here who's joining us via Zoom. Mr. Rabbit?
John Rabbit, present.
Sarah Kammer, here.
And Brian LaFawn, members, and?
Linda McQuaid, Principal Assessor.
Rena Sweezy.
Thank you all. Opening comments. Are there any comments from the board? Mr. Rabbit, I see your hand.
I believe you got the same email today from a resident requesting the status of the tax bills?
I got a copy of one.
Oh, you did receive one?
Yep.
Okay, there you go. Then that answers his question, if he's watching.
I don't know if the question's been answered. I know that one was being crafted. A response was being crafted.
Oh, okay, okay. But they were mailed out, that's all. That's all that counts.
The emails were received. I didn't see the response yet. It's coming from
Okay.
Heather, from both of us.
Okay, but the tax bills did go out?
No, they did not. I'll give you an update later, yep,
Okay, no problem.
because we have that status review of the 5-year evaluation and tax bills. That would be an agenda item that we'll be discussing later. Is
Okay.
there something else that's not on the agenda you'd like to talk about?
No, go ahead. I read it and I knew you'd adapted it a little bit, but that's okay.
Thank you. Ms. Camera?
No comments.
None from me either, I think. Anything from the public, and opening comments? Any hands up in the air in Zoom?
No. Didn't see anybody else.
Fabulous. And the first order of business will be the status report from the, I said interim principal assessor and new principal assessor. Who wants to go first?
I will. Well, you didn't get a written report again, because it's been a busy week. Linda joined us on Monday. Very happy to see her coming. And Linda and I have been both dealing with motor vehicle excise. Hopefully that's quieting down now. And we've both been trying to help out with the file for Munis for the tax bills. So other than that, it's just been Linda attended the senior center, the program for the seniors. She and I both went over there. Tuesday morning, we both went to the department head meeting. Linda got to meet all the other department heads. So she's had a busy start to her first week, but she's fitting in great and she's doing great.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
yeah.
Well, I've got a great mentor. No, we've actually had 4 abutters list as well.
Yeah,
It's been busy.
For what?
4
a
abutters
butters
list.
list.
Right.
Well, it's coming into the spring, so there'll be a lot, the building permits will be, being acquired, and we'll have a butters list to do with those, so.
Hopefully your motor vehicle excise abatements will reduce now because people are supposed to have paid their bills by now.
Yeah, okay.
And maybe it'll cut back, who knows? Thank you. Anything else?
I think
No?
that's it. Should we mention
Think-
that we're gonna, with the building permits after the file?
Yeah, we might want to, we have an update, because I did mention building permits. There's been an issue
Okay.
about catching up with building permits.
Actually, that's probably good, now's probably a good time to discuss that because it's not on the agenda.
Right. So being alone, for 4 months, I couldn't go out and do the inspections. Linda met with the new building inspector on Wednesday or Thursday, and he had said to me, he had been sending requests over on Sheila's email, which I don't have access to. So we talked to him for a little while, and he agreed to do an Excel spreadsheet, and he sent it over to Linda. And we've got quite a few building permits that are going to have to be reviewed. First, we'll have to go through them and say, are these actually valid? Like wood stoves and roofs, we discount those. We want the big ticket items. So, new construction, So Linda and I are going to start that hopefully next week when we can start making changes in the file. We don't want to touch anything in the file right now until we get the word from Mylene that we can make changes. We know the file's all approved, so. Other than that, just, settling in and getting Linda's, I've tried to show her a few things on Vision, but until we can actually get in and do things on the system. But I think she's going to find Vision's a lot easier to use
Yeah.
than the other 2 systems she's used in the past, so it should
Not
be
as
good.
much data entry. It's amazing. Just even entering owner information. We used to have to do a future year. This is just 1 year. So it's a lot. It's going to be a lot easier.
I think.
Yeah.
And I think she's going to pick it up really quick because it's she's got the experience from Patriot, which is a tougher system to use, so I think it's going to be a lot easier for her to learn this new system.
Heather also, I ran into her tonight, and she also mentioned there would be some training available with vision, so she was going to look into that as well, so.
Good.
yeah.
Great. A couple comments on that, if I might?
Sure.
Would you like to go first, Mr. Rabbit?
No, yeah, Chairman, you first. You're grayer than I am.
And there's a hand up. Whose hand is up?
That's my hand.
Oh, okay. Your hand's right under your hand. Brings up a couple things, one of which is the fact that some of those emails were in email Never land reinforces the request that I had made to the town manager, about getting an email for the assessor's office. At that time, she said we did not have enough licenses, but I think I'll reiterate that it's really important that we do not lose track of stuff because someone's out of the office. If we all have, or you all have access to an email site that is for the assessor's office, then nothing will get missed. So that's one comment. The second comment is I'm hoping that the focus of our activity over the next several weeks or months is so to get Linda fully trained on vision. I know that we've been distracted by the motor vehicle excise taxes, where the bill's going to be out shortly, the problems with the communication problems that we'll talk about shortly between Vision and Munis. So there are a lot of distractions, but my hope is the focus will be on Vision, getting Linda up to speed. So thank you. Now, Mr. Rabbit, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two questions, if I might. First of all, how many motor vehicle excise taxes did we process this year? How many did you guys do?
So it's the abatements that we're processing. The taxes already went up.
I'm sorry, abatements.
I don't know the exact number now because we don't have them all in Munis as yet. The first couple of batches probably were about 100.
100 abatements?
100 abatements in the first few batches. And we still have a big stack that has to be entered in Munis, and then we can run the reports on those, so.
So if there are already 100 that are counted and there are more to go, then you can get a sense that there's a pretty sizable amount of them. So,
Okay.
and we'll be able to get a specific report once they're all entered into Munis.
Right, then we can run a report.
Sorry.
Okay. And then we know what will happen if we can get a history of how many have been run. We'll be able to anticipate a load that's hitting that particular area desk and what we can anticipate in terms of normal turnarounds. Hey, the other question I have is, if Sheila's email's not been available for the past 4 months, why can't we just get her password or get the password changed so we can at least start digging through the pile and see if anything was real critical?
I had her password, but when Linda was coming, the week before she came, we had to take everything I had on the computer I was using and flip it over to Sheila's computer so Linda could start fresh with her own email accounts and her own access to Munis and Vision and all the other programs. I did try for a while to keep up. I did have Sheila's password, and I did try to keep up for a while, but it's really just been the past couple of months that, it's not like it's been all 4 months, because I was keeping up with the abutters list and the emails that came under her email account. But when we flipped everything over, we had to actually delete her email account, so.
Off the computer that you're on. So the account wasn't deleted, but it was, her access to it was taken off the computer.
Right.
Okay, so all our emails are still intact on a file someplace or a backup file someplace, right?
Probably.
I believe they're part of the public access information and public information that needs to be saved on the servers, so I believe it's out there somewhere. I can't tell you
Well,
where.
same thing happened. I'm sorry, Brian.
I was going to say, I can't tell you where exactly, but it should be out there.
Okay, we can nose around. Yeah, the same thing happened with CJ's files. They all plain disappeared. And no one could quite figure out where they went, where his computer went. And yeah, we certainly want to grab Sheila's stuff. So do we go talk to Dan? Is that what we should do?
His email should not have disappeared. What possibly disappeared were local files that he had on his own computer, laptop. Well, so,
Okay.
And some of those are still
There.
on the C drive, because they're things that possibly Linda might be able to use. Those are still there.
so some of that stuff was backed up to a common,
And his computer has
Okay.
been repurposed to the Conservation Commission.
right, the computer itself is gone.
Okay.
So anyway, sorry, Ms. Cameron.
I do have a question. I know we were looking for someone to fill the position while
Sheila's
Sheila's,
busy.
yeah, while Sheila is out. And there was potentially some interest in the position, but it didn't work out. And also, we were also looking for potential volunteers for from the senior tax work-off plan. Has anything happened in either of those aspects?
I had spoken to Julie back in January about the senior work-off. Unfortunately, there's a lot of things in our office that you just can't have somebody come in, like all the exemptions and in the abatements. There's a lot of financial information that's all confidential. There was a few people that were interested, but the main question everybody had, is this going to turn into a permanent full-time position? And then there were a couple of folks that wanted it but didn't want to go full-time. So we've had a little bit of both. So I believe when Sheila, is ready to do whatever she's going to do. They can't advertise for the job right now, but should Sheila come back, it's actually her position, so.
Yeah, of course.
So I believe based on the Family Medical Leave Act, or whatever it's called, FMLA.
FMLA.
Wow, that was pretty good. I believe that we no longer have to hold this position open for her, but we do have to hold a position, offer her position if she were to be able to come back.
Yeah.
That would entail the town actually creating a new head, a new full-time equivalent, and I think that there's been some reluctance to want to do that until we know exactly what the disposition of Sheila's case is going to be. So, having said that, I don't think it's going to be forever, that we should know something in the next month or so. But unfortunately, it may take a month or so. Is that a fair assessment?
But that
So-
will give Linda and I a chance to work through the abatements.
Really get to
and-
know each other.
No, we're getting to know each other. No, to work through the abatements that are coming in. Because I did tell Heather I would stay around to the end of May. So I just don't want to leave her. Hopefully, by the end of May, they might have somebody for that position, I just don't want to leave Linda in the lurch,
We have the luxury of having two people in that office right now until the end of May, so it's a much better situation than we had for the last 4 months.
Yeah.
And Mr. Rabbit, do you have another comment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Okay, Rena, when I first got there was an older gentleman that was actually sitting at the front desk. And I believe he was loading files.
He cannot participate in the senior work-off program because he changed his residence within the town, and you have to be in your residence for a year.
Okay, so but there are other members who live, potential work-offs, that have been in town for quite a while, but he was able to get in, and I'm assuming it's only because of the issue of security and things and confidentiality. So how was he able to get in, and how come we can't?
He was just doing some data entry.
Right,
It
Right.
wasn't anything that was confidential. He was just doing some basic data entry.
right. So don't we have those tasks is, needed in terms of, especially we've got a lot of past due inspections and upgrades, and I knew he was doing something with reports and he was loading the information in.
He
That's
was
all it
entering building permits. That's all he was doing.
Right.
He was
right.
just
And so
entering
we've got
building
a pile
permits.
of that we're behind on, I believe, so why couldn't we get some help there?
Well, for one thing, because the building permits are coming in now, Sheila would go through them and she would weed out the ones that we have to go through. Roofs,
Okay.
Solar panels, wood stoves. Sheila would, so he was just doing the ones that were valid building permits, and all he was doing was putting them in the card, putting the date on and what the permit was for, just basic data entry. But I think with what we have coming up now, if Linda and I are both looking at the building permits, we're gonna know which ones are gonna be more priority, we have to start working on a new growth for 2025, so.
So
And what about the inspections with regard to the sales, post-sales? Is that confidential and?
The inspections
What-
is with the sales.
the person who does the inspections would have to be trained?
Yeah.
Is that what you were
Oh, yeah,
asking?
that's just data entry, just
They're
data
looking
entry.
for some training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have any of that data right now, so if we had somebody in the office, they wouldn't be doing much.
Okay,
We just got the information on the building officials, building permits that had been building up in arrears. And we now have it, but we also we have the two people in the office. And part of this will be good training for our new assessor to be able to access the system. I think putting somebody in place in a very temporary month or 2 months role would cost us more effort than any payback we might get out of it right now. It would have been useful a few months ago,
Right.
Yeah.
And
but today, that's water over the dam or under the bridge.
okay.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry, Linda.
Oh, Jack, I also wanted to mention, once Serena and I get caught up on the permits, I will start doing final inspections. So then that way, I'll be going out and inspecting, and it'll also entail
Okay.
inspecting these permits as well. And then,
Now, how was your,
and then once
how,
that's done, we'll start following up on the sales too, which is kind of another important aspect of,
Yep.
And we'll send out sales verification
Yeah.
notice.
yeah.
if I might ask, Linda, are you capable of generating, requesting reports out of Vision with regard to levels of activities and things like that, or is that part of training coming up?
That's going to be part of the training, yeah. I wish, I can tell you, I can actually print out a property record card, and I've been sending those, so I can look stuff up, so I'm making headway. No.
I would just like to second Chairman's comments with regard to learn the vision system, learn the computer systems that you've got, and really focus on that before we start doing other stuff. I mean, that's going to be our biggest ally in terms of getting stuff done and getting visibility to the level of activities and how accurate we are. So, yeah, get really good at that, girl.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm done.
Even putting in the building permits is actually a good training exercise too, and we'll be doing the sales as well.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Thank you. I think that's enough for the assessors' reports. Assessors' reports. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is current business, review and approve invoices, expense vouchers, payroll, billing errors, etc. We have some of those today, I think.
We have a few things.
We won't be able to let you sign, Mr. Abbott.
That's okay.
These
That's quite all right.
But we will get you to vote, because when we vote, we'll have to
You
do
can
a,
explain what that is.
Oh, we only need two, right?
these,
you can vote.
Okay, I think I'll
these are the MLS.
Jane, am I okay to vote? Okay, she says I'm okay.
This is the multiple listing, and I actually have that. So this is the invoice and then the paid invoice for those.
Oh, for the MLS
And it's every
subscription.
quarter, yeah.
Okay.
So that we can go in and look at the sales and look at actually the photographs of stuff that's sold.
Right.
Do we, want to
us
read
to
that
send
number
them
off so that Mr. Rabbit can know what it is?
Yeah, so Mr. Rabbit, what we have here is a quarterly bill for the MLS service that we get, and the amount is $126.
Wow, okay.
Do you want it signed on
I
the
don't,
sheets?
we probably don't have to vote on these. I think we just sign
I
them.
don't have to vote on it. That means that, if I'm reading this correctly, usually 126, he's billing us by the quarter hour or half hour or
No. This is MLS, not
MLS, right?
Not-
That's name.
multiple listing service.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you said MFS, I'm sorry.
MLS.
MLS,
That's why we want to clarify this.
thank you.
So this is MLS subscription, about $500 a year, and we're coming up on our quarterly bill. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Thank you.
That's the commitment.
Oh, okay.
It's already dated, so I'm not going to date it.
It's up to you.
This is the real estate and personal property commitment. The actual
Tell
bills.
us what the amount.
So our
Yes, it's billion.
real estate commitment is $2,177,837,450. Our personal property is $64,914,630, for a total amount of $2,242,752,080.
Does this one need a vote, though? The commitment, I think, needs a vote, doesn't it? No? Upon the advice of counsel? And the date is where? It's on here
It's up there.
already.
It's a whole thing.
This is the, did you talk to this person?
Oh, the lien.
The lien, so, that's just, they can sign that, it's a lien
Okay.
release,
Okay.
if you want.
This is a release of a tax lien, rollback taxes.
That's a,
You want to explain?
that's a release of a lien on rollback taxes for some lots out on Holman Street. All that CJ did last year, in '22, he did all the rollback taxes. The rollback taxes were all paid. He never released the liens on the property because he left. And Linda got a call, so she was speaking to the people, so we're just trying to release that lien.
Okay.
Because everything's been paid. There's copies of the checks in there, that the rollback's been paid.
It's always right there.
Okay.
That's it.
Is that it?
That's it on any,
My hand's not tired.
well, that's it for now.
That's right, we've got some later on during executive session. I'll figure out how to do that later. The next item was the potential revision to warrant article about clause 41C. So as we were trying to write up the article, we needed to know when the last time we acted on 41C was so that we could reference it in the article. It appears that the last time we acted on it at all was back in 2007. Linda, do you want to talk a little bit
Yeah.
about it?
Yeah. So, I know you can't see this package, Jack, but I'll start off by, in the office, we had this hanging up and the amounts are inconsistent on the 41C for both the income and the assets for single and married. So we did some investigation, and so in the office, and I can just read through these, for the 41C, the income for a single person is 31.5, and the married would be 39.6. And the asset limitation for a single person is 52,700, and on married couple, it would be 72,700. So the issue is that the DLS data bank is a grid, and this has, every town has the year of the 17, and then the, like 41C when it was adopted. And the DLS data bank indicates that the last change to the 41C was October 14th of 1986. The age is 70, the amount is 750, but the income is substantially lower than what's on this list in the office. So back in 86, it was 20,000 for a single person, 30 for married. The assets was 40,000 for if you were single, and 55 if you're married. So after doing some digging, Annie, the assistant to the town manager, and I went through all the annual reports, and we found,
Can I stop you right there?
oh, yep,
All the annual reports, just be clear on that.
yeah,
All of them.
86 to today.
yeah.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
but-
no, I'm glad you brought that up. So this is the issue. There's no consistency. We're trying to find out exactly what is the correct number for the income for the 41C and also the asset limitations. So from what we could see from the annual reports, it looks like the last update was at the May 6, 2006 town meeting, FY 2007, and it was Article 33. And I'll read this. It says, "To see if the town will vote to accept one or more of the provisions, Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Clause 41C, elderly exemptions, which would, 1, adjust the income limits for single persons to 24,000 and married couples to 30,000. Number 2, adjust the asset limitations for single persons to 40,000 and married couples to 55,000. And 3, raise the amount of the available abatement from $600 to $750, or take any action relative thereto." So that's the most current, and then other years, in 2005, there was another change, Article 15, and that was actually, you know, the income was lower. So we've just been trying to find that out. We checked with Kathy, the town clerk, because back in 86, there was this documentation, which, oop, I just lost my, sorry about that.
Don't worry.
So there's this chart that actually has like a little spreadsheet of all of the exemptions and what the amounts were, the date that they were accepted. So,
And the last date on the little spreadsheet is 1987.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the Department of Revenue has us making a change last in 1986, which may in fact be the 87 because it was, I think, fiscal, but I don't know that. Yeah, you were little.
And then the COLA was never,
So as far as we can tell, there was never an adoption of COLA. We can't find an adoption of COLA by town meeting. But it appears that we've been accepting the COLA amounts at some points over the years. Not consistently, because in some cases, we've actually seen the income amount go up and then back down.
Yes.
So some of the things that you observed at some point when you were looking at this stuff is clearly confusing. And I think we need to do a lot more research to figure out exactly where we actually should be standing today. The question is, I'm sorry, were you done?
No, I was done.
Okay, I didn't mean to jump in. I didn't mean to jump in, I'm sorry. The question is,
I don't mind.
what's our starting point to make changes to? I think we've found that 750 was the number that we're using in 41C since whenever it was back in 87 or whatever, or no, 2000, which one was that?
2006.
But it wasn't 2006, Brian.
May 6th,
2006, well, no, we have,
The problem is, it's the 750 now. In 2006, it was 650. So you've
No,
gone up $100.
No,
So whether or not
no.
they give the COLA.
don't, let me interrupt.
Okay.
So we're looking right at the warrant article that was adopted in 86, 487. So you may be right, it may have been 600 then, but it changed to 750. All we're trying to do is confirm what the existing data should be. The existing data should be 750, because we can't find anything that changed it beyond that. So there's no argument about that. I just wanted to clarify that, yes, your 86 number is probably the 86 number. This was in 86, 487.
Well, in this particular document that we have, the Article 33, is May 6, 2006. So that's even more recent than 1987. And
Right.
it's changed from 600 to 750.
I'm sorry, that was the one, yep.
Yeah, so it's definitely there. The discussion we're having is about what the asset limits and the income limits are, right?
Yes,
Ish?
yes, and,
They should be going up with the COLA.
well,
Yeah.
The COLA
if
was
we had
never-
adopted
But the
COLA,
COLA was never adopted.
so the point of this discussion was to say we have a lot of unknowns, things that we have not been able to nail down, that we may not be able to nail down in time for this town meeting, because we are finding new data from new sources that have competitive information, I'll say. Having said that, we have an opportunity to do one of two things, I think. One is to keep this article on we actually have two articles.
Right.
Because of the article that we brought forward, there's an article also that was written to accept these clauses for another year, because we have not been doing that.
Okay.
Oh, you mean the clause like 7D
Yep,
and
we have not been-
2237?
We have not been accepting them on an annual basis, which is in fact what we should be doing. So we've reached out to the Department of Revenue, Department of whatever the heck they are. What's,
Oh, the DLS.
DLS, that was it.
Yeah, local services.
We're trying to get a sense of what is the implication if we remove these articles for this town meeting, because we are not prepared to talk about them in a really meaningful way. Or, if we were to remove it, can we bring it back up in the November town meeting, which is essentially an extension of the May town meeting, and still affect 2025? So I've reached out to the Department of Revenue. I actually got an answer from a representative, not directly from the Department of Revenue, but a representative of the Department of Revenue, who said they believe that we can indeed bring this article back up in November and still affect 2025, since the tax bills don't go out till the end of December. They don't have to be paid till January. People would have till April 1st in order to make their applications for the fiscal 2025 tax exemptions. I'm trying to be really careful with my words. Sorry. So we have two choices. We can either leave it on there and hope we can get enough information so that we can present it to the town in May, or we can take it off and redo it with a thorough investigation for November. And I really want to know what the board's pleasure would be on this, because I'm torn. I can see why we might want to leave it on there so we don't lose track of it, in case we can't do it in November and still affect 2025. I can also see the situation where we just don't have enough information, and we confuse the hell out of people at town meeting, and they all vote it down because they don't want to hear anymore. So I'm torn. I would like to hear what the,
Well, if they, I have a couple ideas here. If we put it on November and vote it, and they vote it down, then there's no opportunity. So it's like a one and done. If they vote it down in May, because we don't have enough information, we could say, well, let us go back and get the information and put it on the warrant for November. We could do that, right?
we always
And
have the
then
option to
we
put
have
stuff on a warrant.
Two opportunities to get it right instead of one. I'm not looking to have multiple work efforts on this, but I think it'd be disappointing not to have it on the warrant coming up. But that means we, need to get this done, put it on within a week?
The select board need to vote on putting it on the warrant
it tomorrow?
tomorrow.
But the other thing I'm wondering about this is, yes, we don't have all of the information on these clauses. Could we, with these other clauses, continue with what had been done the previous year, or with whatever our understanding was the previous year, and get these clauses updated for November
And accept the COLA.
and accept the COLA? Yeah, I guess I'm confused a little bit because I haven't been
so.
hearing all of this discussion until now.
Oh, this discussion's not very old.
No.
Okay.
Well, I know because well, I don't know, I need to read everything.
Even that,
And then it's confusing. But what I really find interesting is that we've been supposed to be doing, as of 2006, 750 all along. Right?
yeah.
For people, and we're only doing,
No, we're doing
No,
750.
we've been doing 7.
We are doing 750.
okay,
We got one thing right,
okay, we got that.
right now. The 750 is right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, I thought this single person, married person income and the assets were set by the state for some reason.
If you've adopted, you can adopt whatever number.
Yeah,
When we first adopted this, we adopted the state recommendations. And then there were recommended COLA increases over the years. We had never
Oh, I see.
adopted the COLA, accepted the COLA as our guide.
I see.
So in fact, our income levels should have stayed at 20,000 and 40,000. They've been moving. I don't know under what authority, but they've been moving based upon COLA. But as I said, in some
No vote
cases,
of
it
COLA.
went to the COLA and then went to another number, then back to a prior year's COLA, I think. So it's been sort of all over the map. And
I
this is going
understand
to
the
take,
complexity
this
now.
is going to take more research than we can do in a day or two.
Yeah.
So that's the question. Do we want to fumble our way to something in May? And maybe we can get an answer by then. Although it's so convoluted that I'm not sure I
What
can.
are we doing in April?
This,
Yeah.
I guess.
Mr. Chairman, can I join in the conversation?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
Please.
I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. First of all, this whole push is not a function of, oh, let's raise it. It's because of a real legitimate need. We need to be doing something to help these folks. The second thing is, we've been relying on the documents provided by the state with regard to that little spreadsheet, what towns are doing what. They had us at 750, right? They had us at 70 years old. I don't want to get caught up in this analysis paralysis because of 20 years of screwing up, continuously screwing up on this stuff. So let's fix the folks, help the folks that need it. Let's just move ahead and accept the fact that we want to move it from 750 up to 1,000, and we want to take the age limits down to be consistent with what all the other communities are doing. So we can drive ourselves nuts trying to put this together, and we won't have it done in time. People are going to ask why we're going, what's going on. I honestly believe that based on the sensitivity analysis that our team has been doing, if that override isn't enormous or big, there's not a citizen in town that's gonna turn somebody down over a cup of coffee. So I think we just move ahead and get out of the paralysis, don't get sucked into the paralysis, and just put it on there and see what happens. And I'm pretty confident
noted.
that over the next 3 weeks, we're gonna be able to generate a lot of support with a lot of people.
So I think the thing we need to figure out are the income requirements and the asset requirements for that eligibility. And the issue is not, should we give this exemption? It's at what income and what asset? And we have to clearly define that. So
Yes.
I'm not sure the process for going about that. It would be interesting to see if we can see what other communities are doing in the state. And I don't know how fast we can turn that around.
What they're doing, actually, that came from.
We can. Thank you.
So there is a DLS data bank that has other surrounding towns, so we can actually look at the other surrounding towns and see what they have for income and asset limitations. So that's something that we could put
Yeah.
together and.
Yeah.
So if we have that information, well, I'm looking at this printout that we have here, and these are really low numbers, right?
Yep.
That don't match, I see. I guess we will have to, as a group, decide on what values we want to have for that somehow in less than a month.
Right.
Okay.
I understand your very eloquent support for the people in town who need some help. I get that, I get that, I get that. I just want to make sure that when we go to present stuff, we can present something that's clear. Now, it's very clear that we're moving from 750 to 1,000. That's very clear. Because it is 750 from all the documentation we can find. We are moving from 70 years of age to 65 years of age. Again, that's very clear. The question is really, what income levels do we ask people to meet? What income levels do they need to be beneath in order to be eligible? So they'll be putting in their applications in 2025, remember, we're talking about 2025. They'll be putting in their applications against what set of numbers? I don't know right now, because it's all over the map. It's somewhere between 20,000 and 33,000, to tell you the truth, is the single person's income limit. And obviously there are other things that go in there, like how much you take out for Social Security, there's several other factors. We just need to know what those goalposts are, and today I'm not sure we know the goalposts. If we want to keep this on here and try to find all the information, we may find that we don't have enough information to adequately tell folks exactly what their income requirements are by this time, a month and a half from now. We may or may not.
No.
So,
We do know that. It's in the guidelines.
No.
It's published, it's released, it's current.
wait, it's in the guidelines if we had adopted COLA. We have not. Those guidelines are for COLA.
That was up to the town to make a decision whether.
The town didn't make a decision. The town body, the legislative body for this community, did not, as far as I can tell, make the decision to adopt COLA.
Right.
Again, that's going to take a lot of research. We may be able to do it in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know that. But we may be able to find out that, oh yeah, it was adopted back in such and such a date. What we don't have time to do is put it on the warrant for this May around the COLA. We'd have to do that in November. We can't do that one now. We just don't have time.
I
So,
wouldn't introduce it.
I'm sorry?
I wouldn't introduce the COLA at this particular point. You're moving too many dials. We know that the 2 dials that we're moving are going to be able to give us a reasonable number with regard to what people can expect from a household contribution. You move another dial, and next thing you know, you up that, we could be doubling the participation rate without even knowing it. We don't know, Brian. We just, see, Mr. Chairman, we just don't
So
know.
I don't want to stand in front of town meeting and say, I don't know. Please vote for me.
So I want to read what just got passed to me for acceptance of COLA. We can't just do it ourselves. Acceptance. The COLA increases the exemption amount only in those communities that accept the particular clause. Acceptance is by vote of the community's legislative body, subject to the charter. So it really has to be a formal vote. So that's the issue. We could put in what we would like to raise the amount to, but it seems like we can't put in what the asset and income levels are. Does that mean then that we have to go with what was on record in 2007? Is my question,
Or does it mean we go with what we used last year?
yeah.
I
Which
don't-
is, I don't know.
I don't have an opinion on that because I don't know what the impact is. I don't know what the implications are. So, the question that we have right now is, do we want to move forward during May? I've heard Mr. Rabbit, and I think you would want to move forward in May virtually regardless of what's going on. Is that fair?
And just those two elements, nothing else.
We
just
don't,
those
we
two
can't,
elements.
we can't just do those two elements. We actually have to do the other acceptance of all the other exemptions that we haven't been doing for years. So we've
Right,
got,
go
we've
ahead.
got two elements in this warrant article, and then another warrant article for all the other exemptions.
Okay.
So if, I, thank you. And that was an impassioned plea, I get it. I'm not against it.
So, I'm sorry we've had to go round and round, because I had to take a few minutes to figure out what the actual set of
Issues
problems
are.
are. And now that I have an understanding of it, I'm, pretty frustrated, because to me, it doesn't look like we can actually put it on this May one, because of we have to get the amount right for the income and the amount right for the assets, or we're just changing air, right?
But,
And potentially doing it wrong. But I would like to get it on for November.
right.
Why, Mr. Chairman, and if I might address that, what is the air part? We're
What?
talking about two solid pieces that we know were done last year, consistent with what DOR or DLS has been sharing with us. The other elements we don't know. We could come back in November and add those in, but get those two in there and give these people some relief. It's not a big number. If we all of a sudden raise the income levels, well then guess what? Our numbers are going to be off.
So Jack, it's not about the relief part. I'm in full support of that. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that it's clear what people are applying for and clear what we are giving exemptions for. If we don't have the income and the assets listed correctly, then we're creating a conflict in our administration of all of those exemptions.
Did any of you folks,
So-
Mr. Chairman, if I could, did any of you folks go to the AARP website, the app site, that tells you whether or not you're qualified for the 41C as well as the circuit breaker? But the 41C has some qualification limits in there, right?
But
And they're the
It has
most
to be
up-
it has to be adopted by the town.
Right.
Those guidelines are for those towns that have adopted COLA. We cannot find a record of us ever having adopted COLA. So those guidelines are meaningless to Lunenburg. Having said that, I get why you want to move forward, but I'm a little concerned about when we stand up at town meeting and say, yeah, we want to cut the age, we want to increase the amounts, and we don't know what income level people are going to have to meet, because it's somewhere between 20 and 33,000. I'm just throwing those out for. And Rena, you sound like you have something to say, so I'm going to let you say it.
I was, like you said before, I was just wondering where back in, I don't remember what year, it was 20,000 and 40,000 20,000, 30,000 were accepted. We're way over that, and it's never been accepted at town meeting.
Right.
So I'm wondering, should this go to town council to find out if we have to adhere to the vote back, those limits back, whenever that was accepted by town meeting? Which puts another curve into it.
Well, yes. That's actually not a bad idea. Let somebody go do the research and dig it up. Pay them to do that. We, on the other hand, need to make sure that we have either something in front of the Board of Selectmen tomorrow or not. So, this is not an easy one. That's why it got added as an emergency revision to the agenda, because as we were trying to figure out what the answers to the questions were, we didn't even know what all the questions were. Mr. Rabbit, you have something? Yep.
I believe it is an easy one. If all of a sudden we discover that there is a problem, we just pull it down at town meeting or pull it out ahead of time. If you don't do something right now, we're locked out of May. And so my position, use it as a position holder, let's buy some more time, and then in the meantime, we can engage in our own discussions. I promise you, I'm going to be calling DLS looking for assistance. And if someone on this side wants to go talk to Adam Costa, great, let's do that. But let's first of all make the decision in staying on the warrant, and let's get our placeholder in place.
So, yes. DLS can only give us back what we've given them. So, I'm not sure what, I'm sorry, what?
Who's got to come after us?
What do you say?
Froze up.
What?
I'm at low bandwidth here. This campground's not really good about that.
I think the main
I
issue is we
apologize.
can't
Go
determine
ahead.
eligibility.
Yeah, I don't know who's eligible.
Well, we can't determine eligibility,
Yeah.
whatever our limits are.
Yeah.
So I think Mr. Rabbit's point is, let's change the limits and figure out the eligibility, because we have to figure out the eligibility anyway. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Yeah, that's a good summary.
So this has been really valuable discussion for me, because I was really torn. But now I'm leaning toward, let's put it on there and figure out what the eligibility requirements are. And that way we can stand behind the fact that we want to increase the exemption, we want to decrease the age, and we'll figure out the eligibility stuff before we sit at town meeting, because I can't tell you how strongly enough how embarrassing it is to be at town meeting and not have answers. You get shouted down and turned away, and that has happened more than one time. And it's often because people don't understand what the question was we're really trying to answer, but in this case, it's going to be, we know what questions we want them to answer, we just don't know what the parameters are. So we'll figure that out. So I'm leaning more toward,
And if we haven't figured out the eligibility by then, we pass over
we
it
still have the option of passing it over and moving it to November and still affecting the 2025, fiscal 2025 tax
I think
situation.
that's the best possible scenario we have right now.
Okay, I feel better. I'm glad you guys made me feel better. So I'm not sure if we need to take a vote on anything.
Good job, Chief.
I don't think so. I think we're kind of at a consensus of,
We're where we were, which was $1,000, 65 years, and
and we have to
the
figure it
last
out.
date we updated it was,
2000,
what,
Six.
May or?
It was May 14th, according to, May 6th, 2006
May
town
6th.
meeting.
There we go.
And the income limits then were 24,000 for single, 30,000 for married.
Yep.
Asset limits were 40,000 for single and married, 55,000.
Okay.
I don't know that even matters.
Thank you for the discussion,
Yeah.
and thank you for the impassioned plea.
Okay.
I think that's fine. Let's,
And just because it's sitting in front of me, what about these other clauses?
so, I didn't want to take us too far down the rat hole, but at some point, we need to discuss all the clauses, because I think the situation's similar for many of them, that things have been revisited once in a while in the past, but not all the time. So
Yeah.
we aren't sure what our parameters are for those either.
Well, an opinion I have is that, you know, what we're doing for seniors, these other groups are equally deserving. So it'd be something I'd like us to consider looking into.
And as we nail this down over the next few weeks or few months, I think we still have an opportunity to fix things in November.
Yeah, I do too. All
So,
right.
thank you very much. I was kind of losing sleep over this one, so thank you.
Well,
Now, if
just
you-
hearing about it, can imagine.
If you'd only not stirred up the pot, Mr. Rabbit, we wouldn't be looking at all this stuff and trying to fix the whole world. Thank you. We need to do so.
So are we at the assessor conference review?
Yep. So there's no vote needed on that, so we're just going to move forward. Was there a question?
There's somebody on Zoom.
Oh, let him in.
How do?
Let me in.
Oh, yeah. Sarah?
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Hang on.
Okay, she's got to come over and drive.
For those of you on Zoom, there are more people trying to be on Zoom.
There we go. So I just went to the participants and then clicked, and now I'm on admit. Yeah. Oops.
Good job.
Hang on.
You just
No, it's there. It's just Zoom is,
shrunk.
I shrunk everything.
Honey, I shrunk the Zoom.
There we
There
go.
we go.
I was
Thank
trying
you.
to hide the participants, but it's probably better to have it open, because then you'll see who's in the waiting room.
So
Right, that's
Dave's
fine.
in the waiting room.
Not
Thank you.
anymore.
Who?
Dave?
He's in here now.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Thank you.
Dave.
So, that was a longer conversation than I'd hoped, but actually shorter than I expected. The status of the community outreach. You want to review the assessor conference that was recently held? Just tell us a little bit about it.
Mr. Chairman, yes, I'd love to. I don't see Dave on the screen.
It says Dave right here.
He's there.
There he is.
Oh, there he is. Okay, he's asleep. That's all right.
Okay. Mr. Rabbit?
Okay.
The-
Basically, the conference went off with I believe, count-wise, people in the room. I guess there were about 29 of them. We don't have any counts in terms of how many people were actually visited the packet meeting. The Zoom piece was a disappointment in that for some reason the audio wasn't working. I don't know why. And at the same time, I will never try and have a Zoom and conduct a conference and do all the other things at the same time, because it was just me. There was nobody let anybody into the rooms even, so I screwed up that part of it. Other than that, the conference seemed to be well received. We did receive about a dozen or so, I haven't looked at them since the conference, but responses. And for that matter, they were all, they had choices, and basically folks were very happy with what they had seen. They appreciated the concept of we're trying to help and the other avenues that we're exploring. They appreciated our selectmen getting up and giving an update. They appreciated Margaret getting in and giving us the info and the inside skivvy and what was happening with the PAC TV and all the other pieces. Rena and Linda did a very nice job assessing. Rena, did you hit 5 different exemptions? Is that what you hit?
I'm sorry, say that again?
You talked about exemptions.
Yes.
41C. I think you talked about 5 of them altogether.
41, 70.
4.
About 4 of them.
4 of them? Yeah. And there was some people that were wanting to know, hey, my brother is not gonna be able to keep his house, what can we do? And so we pointed out a few different avenues, and the thing of it is, we tried to share with people, there are other opportunities out there that we don't have available to us just yet, but we're gonna push really hard on. And the deferral did open some people's eyes, and the opportunities for deferral. So we just need to push that. But I know the next 3 weeks, we've got to push 42C really hard with the public, and
41C?
I have a number of contacts.
41C.
41C.
Why am I doing this? So anyway, yeah, there's a lot to get done, because this thing just doesn't happen by itself. And so I know I received a note from Heather yesterday, and it could have been from a few days before, that she wanted to do this similar presentation to the Finance Committee. I saw it too late, and we'll see what happens there. But right now, I'm going to be out there actively campaigning for it, and using as many friends and contacts as we possibly can. We did a mailing for invitees out through the senior center. We did it through the Lakes communities. I have about 75 close to dear friends in town. Hey, pay attention to this. So I think that we just got to keep pushing some energy behind it, and we'll get some people that are interested. The other thing that we pushed on it, and Sarah, your little brochure, I held up a copy of that, and I said, go check your property cards every chance. I think I said it 3 or 4 different times, and people were kind of like, oh, I should be paying attention to that. So they're going to need some help there. In fact, one person come running up to me just at the end, after the end of it, said, my property card is wrong. I don't live in a town. I live in a town.
You froze up?
The house.
Sorry, you froze up there?
We
Oh,
missed,
I'm sorry.
we missed what you were saying after people are holding up their card.
The property cards. The woman had, basically her house was miscoded. And I said, that's the reason why we want to be doing it. And, we gave a few examples of where things had been miscoded, and we needed their help. And I think that needs to be a constant message out there, that we need your help. Go through and hit those property cards. And they were all smiles, Linda, even though you left. They loved hearing about your background and your history. They were all nodding, said, this is good, this is good. So all in all, I thought the conference met its objectives, and now we just need to use that as a springboard to push other pieces out. And yeah, they even like the website and stuff. A couple of them commented on that one. And I will, as soon as I get back to the home base, I'll grab those survey sheets and tabulate them and put something up that you can look at with David.
So, just one question. So this is something we're to try to do annually?
Okay.
Is it?
I'm thinking.
That was a question.
That was a question.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of whatever we can do to communicate with folks. Yeah, let's take that opportunity. And I think the senior community especially, because we know that they aren't going, most of them, I'd be wrong to say most of them, a big chunk of them really don't have access to a computer or are not necessarily computer literate. And, but it got a good response.
Okay.
And, from the seniors that were there.
Okay.
And those the property boards that we put up there, we had 5 boards altogether, and 3 of them were on properties that had sold, and those got a pretty good review. Now, yeah, by the way, the Ledger is going to be doing an article. I don't know if it's shown up yet. And yeah, the Ledger and PAC. And I don't know if Brian, anybody seen it in PAC TV yet? I haven't.
I've not done that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So anyway, it's getting out there. But thank you for the opportunity. Yes, I think we can do another one another quarter.
So,
Let's see where we're going.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
We could probably do another one in another quarter, because hopefully this darn website's going to be online.
Stick with the assessor conference. We'll move to the.
Okay. Well, that was.
So as far as the assessor conference is concerned, we probably should do it again next year. at some point, we should talk about what the schedule, when we will start opening up stuff for 2025. But right now, because of the lateness of the tax bills, I'm jumping ahead. We should talk about never mind, I'll not jump ahead, I will not jump ahead. So, you started to talk about the website, when do we see a rollout of stuff on the website?
In the presentation, there was three block slides on where we are on the presentation and the volumes of what's going on. We told them, look, we're hoping that April, mid to late April, we have a rollout. That's my goal. And I've got to get back to Kara. I haven't talked to Kara in a week and a half now.
Mid to late April.
Most of the polls are filling up. And again, Sarah, we love your book. Booklet.
Great, thank you for the update. The next item on the agenda is the use of responses to extensive citizen questions as facts, and we have a guest who's graciously gone through piles and piles of questions and sort of boiled them down to at least a much more manageable list of questions, many of which can be answered or could be answered on the website as part of a fact. So, did you want to, you don't have to present, but we won't be able to hear you if you're not at a microphone. Our gracious guest is Mr. Carl Luck, whom we all know and love. Is that on?
There's a bug on the mic.
Oh.
Good one, Brian.
How did I get that there?
Stinky bug.
It is one of those stink bugs.
All right.
Growing up in the country.
Can't stop me that easy. Carl Luck, 50 Sunset Lane. Attracting stink bugs over here. At your request and my offering and your accepting, I went through the questions that I had. Most of them, just about all of them were over the past year that I had accumulated, plus Carl Durner, who also had a bunch of questions, went over his own, and then we incorporated that into what we sent you. And again, what we tried to do was basically sort this down to current, still relevant questions. There's still an awful lot of questions about last year that haven't been answered, and most of them are not relevant anymore, or a few of them have been answered, but not very many, quite frankly, and not the BOA. I mean, the investigation team promised to answer them, and they're not gonna, it's clear. So appreciate your being willing to entertain these questions. As I said, a lot of them don't seem to be relevant anymore, so we left those all out. There is a chance that as a result of the answers to these questions, some of them may become relevant again, so we'll keep that door cracked open. And that's basically what we did. So we came up with this, couple pages worth of questions, and some definitions up front, because I hadn't seen Sarah's booklet yet, and I've seen it and started to read it. It is outstanding. I encourage everyone to go.
You know, it was predominantly written by the town of Concord, right?
What?
It was predominantly written by the town of Concord. I edited it.
You get the credit for going and finding it.
Software developers get credit for other software developers' work, so yes.
Well, I will say it wasn't easy to find on the website. I'm looking forward to Jack's new website, because it.
Well, Jack, I don't know if you heard Carl. He said it was hard to find the vision card, how to read it. So maybe we can put it on the front page or something.
If I might, we can ask that it be put out on the news, the front page, top page, if we want. So
Yeah.
that's probably a good idea. Thank you for that.
I just couldn't find it on the assessor. I finally found it with just search for the words, because I knew the title, and then it came up, but I never could find it on the assessors or the board's page. But it's a great document, and I can't wait to
It
finish
explains
it.
a lot, right?
It explains a lot.
Yeah. I was overjoyed when I saw it.
It's good, it's really good. So anyway, I don't plan to present it. You have a list of questions. I'm mostly here to, and Carl was, I don't know if he got in from the waiting room, but mostly to address any questions, to make sure the questions are clear. It was our understanding that, other than what the board might be able to answer, and there's sort of two sections. One is, we felt was primarily had to be answered by the contractors, whether it be Vision or MFS. But there is another section that looks pretty much that most of it could be answered by either the board or the town manager. Most of them fall into that range. So the goal, right, my goal of being here and Carl's of standing by is basically to make sure that the questions are understood. And if there's any clarifications to the questions, not expecting any answers tonight clearly, but so that when they get sent to whoever's going to answer them, they're understandable, and what comes back will answer them. So I don't know if there's any questions.
When I read through them, they made sense to me, but I think if we need additional clarification, we know who to come back to.
You know how to find me. Yeah. Absolutely, make yourself available, and Carl will too. I'm sure I can speak for him on that, so.
Thank you. Mr. Rabbit, I think, has a hand up.
Mr. Chairman. Hey, rather than trying to reinvent the wheel, I'm betting our contractors have a lot of questions that have been asked in the past. And they've probably generated some sort of responses to it. So if it would be okay, we could, without incurring any horrendous costs, let's query those two folks and say, what kind of questions have you gotten? What are the responses? Can you send them over to us and we'll load them up, and that'll hopefully take down some of the volume of questions for the next round.
Yeah,
So several of these are several of these are lake specific and maybe not questions that would be answered in another community. So those are probably specific to us. Several of them,
there's a
that's
few
true.
townwide ones, yeah.
right.
Carl and I are on the lake, so these are almost all, except for the ones that maybe yourself or the town manager, they're a little more generic. All the other ones are lake-specific, because that's what we've been living for the last year. And they're very specific, as you can see, in terms of 23 and 24, mostly 24.
Hopefully, most of the focus should be looking forward, but there are some things you need to answer looking backward in order to give yourself a context, so.
Yeah, you see that there's only, a couple on 23, and they do have some potential link to 24.
Yeah, I think there was a couple that were about the neighborhoods, that were related to how do we have these neighborhoods and stuff like that, which are still, I think, related.
They are, and in fact, we talked about at our last meeting, putting together a small committee, whatever small is, to address what the overall neighborhood layout should look like. So those may be answered as we go through that. But it doesn't answer the question of how things happened as we look backward, but they would say, here's how we would be looking at things in the future. The future being now, because we have 24 bills that'll be going up shortly. I'm not answering any questions that I shouldn't be. But those questions, some of those, how we arrived at the 24 values still may come up, and looking back toward the neighborhood situation that we found ourselves in last year. So, were there any, Jack, did you get to see a copy of the memo or the note from Carl?
Is that Carl, you sent that out about 2 weeks ago or so?
No.
I haven't seen it.
Over the weekend?
Over the weekend, no, I haven't seen it.
Okay, well, there are some questions, and many of them are really good questions. That's helpful. That's really helpful.
This is one of the.
Oh, one of the questions was, is our current new lead assessor qualified? And in fact, there's a certificate that indicates that she is indeed qualified, but we will put that out at the website and put the trombones and trumpets with it.
This is exactly
Right,
what I
I need a
nominate mine
picture.
too.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
So yes,
Thank you.
we hope that when we make a hire, we hire only qualified people. That's the intent. You know, so far.
All right.
Thank you. And we do know where to find you. So we could go through the questions at some point and if you want to adjust them, but I think we have a set of questions we can start to figure out who to send them to for answers.
Yes.
Um,
Can I take a minute to get some water, Mr. Chair?
You may, if you'll agree to assign who should,
Oh, assign who should answer which questions?
you don't want to do that?
Oh,
Mr. Would that be something you'd be interested in doing? You don't have to. Don't feel like pressure. Don't feel any pressure that I just put on you.
I don't really feel pressure about answering questions. It's just, they're actually pretty well divided in terms of what I think we can send to our contractors and what
Right.
we need to have answered within town.
Right.
That was already kind of delineated, so.
The other thing we have to do is just answer the questions that we
Yeah.
have to answer
Yeah.
and send them off and distribute them. There were a couple other questions I think that you didn't address that came from other sources, the questions about 17D, which I think I forwarded a copy to you guys. We probably ought to put something together to put out at the website as an answer for that. But if we're going to do that, we probably ought to have a whole section on exemptions. So I don't know if you put together a section on exemptions in the website, Jack, but there ought to be a whole section about exemptions, and we put all exemption-related stuff there.
You have, yeah, let me go back and.
Just, if you don't have it, I would suggest that we do that, so, thank you. And that's, we don't really need to go much beyond that.
Yeah, the exemptions that we've accepted.
On the exemptions, we'll get it straightened out, and we'll get the answers out there, so, yes, thank you.
Are these
Yeah,
questions
Mr. Chairman?
something that our assessor, our principal and interim assessor should be, like, the ones that are within town,
Maybe?
can they address that while they're here in the town building?
Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Luck, for the time that you spent. Jack, you have another comment?
If we could, as we collect these questions, we're going to come back and answer with answers. We're essentially establishing policies by answering those questions. And we can start building up our policies, part of the website. Not too much in there right now.
I don't disagree, but that's a future topic.
Some of them might be policy-related. That is a future topic.
If you answer something and the board goes along with it, you can just establish the policy.
Depends on what it is, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
is our principal assessor qualified? That's not a policy. The policy should be, we only hire qualified people.
That's your policy.
Right,
That's our policy.
right. Okay,
So the question becomes, who is going to be filing these into policies?
I thought I saw your hand in the air. In fact, it still is.
Yeah.
Oh, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Your hand is in
Hands
the
are still
air,
up.
so
There you
you're-
go. Thank you.
James, you to do it?
I don't know. I can't tell. I don't see a
Dave's hand is
question.
not raised.
Oh, okay.
I don't see any other questions.
I don't see anything.
Okay. Thank you for the updates. Thank you for the questions, and we will keep following up. Status of the 5-year reval and the tax bills. The intention of putting this one on here was actually to go back and look at the DOR directives, but we should talk about the status of the tax bills. There were some technical problems between, I'll call it, between Munis and Vision that made it very difficult for Munis to read the data that Vision was sending over. I will not attribute blame anywhere, but a lot of adjustments were made to Munis.
Worked last year with Munis.
What's that? And last year with Munis, and yeah.
Worked with Vision and Munis last year.
Yeah,
Just not this year.
So,
Munis recently had an update.
there was a Munis update this year, yeah.
Yeah.
And there has been another update, and it appears at this point that most of the information is transferring over properly.
We think so, yes.
So there's download all the information, then there'll be a chance to review what we have, send that back out to the printing company, get it back from them for another review.
I think it might be off to the printer this evening.
I think it is too. I just didn't get confirmation of that, so thank you.
Yeah. That was Mylene's hope,
That was Mylene's expectation.
yes, to have it to the printer this evening.
So, having said that, it'll go to the printer, they will collect all the information that they have, and then they're going to send it back to us for a review, according to the town manager.
Oh, okay.
And once we've gone through that review, we then send the final package to them, which they then have to send through the print process and the postage process. So the expectation right now is that we will be sending out sometime in the next week and a half to 2 weeks. Maybe sooner, but I'm not counting on that. And that tax bills will be due sometime in mid-May. Which means, for us, there's an implication here. Whatever the date of the tax bills, whatever date the tax bills go out, we then have to give 3 months for exemptions. It's
Yes,
so not 90 days, 3 months. So we have to know the date and go 3 months out, and that'll be for the exemptions for 2024.
if somebody wants.
Somebody else may still apply for 2024.
Right.
We also have 30 days for abatements to be applied for.
Correct.
And then we have some period, what was the period of time for us to respond? Is that, I don't remember. I just did that training, too.
Oh,
90 days, right?
Is it 60? What was it?
90 days to respond.
Was it 90? Okay.
I thought so, but I would have to double check.
Anyway, so the implications for us is around what day the bills go out. If you talk to anybody else in the finance world of the town, they want to know when the payments are due. So don't be talking past each other. I've already done that twice. So I guess I'm telling stories out of school because the town manager will be giving an update to the Board of Selectmen tomorrow. The other thing we have to talk about is the directives. We probably ought to really have a concerted effort to put together teams to respond to those directives. Now, those directives are for the next 5 years, so they don't have to be responded to immediately. But some of them, I think, are more pressing than others, hence the discussion about neighborhoods last week and our last meeting, and again this meeting. I really want to put together a neighborhood reevaluation team, which I think would need to include someone from the board, probably someone, the assessor's office, and that's probably going to be pretty obvious by the time we get it together, Linda. I would suggest we want to have somebody from a lake, at least, somebody else who's not on a lake, and then perhaps someone who's completely objective and maybe from out of town. Be that somebody we are hiring as a consultant or whatever. So that would be my suggestion and it's only a preliminary suggestion. We're not voting on anything right now. But those are my thoughts, and if you have other thoughts about who should be on a neighborhood reevaluation committee, let me know. Wow.
Well, I wrote those down, and I was thinking that I like that composition. It's not too many,
You want to keep it small enough so that something actually gets done?
but it is a good representation, I think, across the community. Personally, it's a board I would really love to be on. It's spent a lot of time looking at those maps and was somewhat surprised at the layout of those neighborhoods. And I think there's some work we can do there that would improve things.
And we might be able to reach out to some people who are familiar with Lunenburg maps, who no longer work for Lunenburg, and perhaps we could entice them to help out. Just saying. Okay, yes.
I would like to nominate Sarah
Well-
to head up that particular team.
We're not there yet, but okay, thank you.
I mean, she's eminently qualified, let's face it, out of our whole group. Sarah, you're the map person. You really are. And the GIS pieces and everything else, that's you.
There are other aspects of neighborhoods, but yes.
Yeah.
Just, that might have been an oversimplification, but yes,
Yes.
we're not far off on the wavelength. Great, thank you. Maybe next time, I don't know if we're still too busy for next time. Oh, we have to talk about next time, whatever next time is. But we should go through the directives, just list them off and talk about what we want to do, when we want to do it, because, as I said, we have up to 5 years, so in some of these cases, we don't want to do anything right now. We're going to be tripping over the other stuff we're trying to get done that's more pressing.
And some of them are pretty standard.
Yep.
That every community gets, like a better response on your I&Es. You know, that's a
Yes.
little bit hard, and every community gets that one. You mail them out to everybody, you can't guarantee that they're going to return them.
Right,
So that's a hard directive, that's kind of one of those, you might have noticed, Linda, it's on every year. Every community gets
Yep.
that one every year. So there are a few of those.
yep. I would say, generally, though, we did not have an inordinate amount of directives
No, I thought.
compared to what we may have had in the past and what other communities might have. It didn't feel like we got that many.
Somehow I got the impression from our DOR rep that we might have up to 10, but we didn't have that.
Right. So,
But then it might have been, that just came, it comes down from her boss, so.
sure. Thank you. The next thing on the agenda was to go through it. Oh, I'm sorry, did you have something to say? Yes. You probably have to make noise because I don't see your hand unless I look up.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Hey, if we're coming up with, we have these DOR directives, as we establish them, shouldn't we have some metrics that supports how well we're making progress? And can we pull them out of the machines? But we need to, as we're thinking of or determining those, there must have been ways in the past you measured whether you were meeting the DOR requirements or not. So would it make sense then to go to the folks that are measuring us and ask them, what do you use for metrics to say that, yeah, our I&Es are getting better or whatever, but we need some metrics to support. Remember, what gets measured gets done. If it doesn't get measured, it's never going to get done. And so let's talk to the folks that, the ones that are defining what we have to do.
Isn't it-
Ask them that.
Percentage of our town has been.
Is it measured when we submit it and they say it's done?
Well, but the directives, we finished, but we have directives. Here's some things you
Yeah.
might want to take a look at.
Yeah.
I would actually think it would make sense to reach out to them and say, what is it you're looking for on some of these directives, and how can we know that we've succeeded? Which is what you've asked, I think.
Well,
Right, build metrics around that.
well, the metrics on that are the DOR, because you have your cyclical, which is, you're basically doing that over a 9-year period. And when you're going through your reval, they look at what you've done over the years, and you get a percentage. What percentage of your town has been reviewed? There's the metrics, and it's if it's not up to what the DOR wants, it's gonna show up in your certification.
Right.
So there's your metrics.
Yep.
They look at what's done every year, because they do take that percentage every year.
Right.
When you're filing, when you're doing your recap and all that, they look at, well, what percentage are you up to this year? How many on your cyclical, how many are done?
And that's a very clear numeric we
Right.
can use. There may be some others that are less numeric,
Right.
that we would like to know what the measurement, what the metric really is. So I think that's a reasonable question to ask them on some of them. Some of them, it'll just be totally obvious, so I'm fine with that. Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I think we also need to have, the board needs to hear how we're doing with regard to those metrics.
The what? I'm sorry?
And some sort of
He said the board
the
needs
board
to
needs
hear
to
about it.
hear our progress. And essentially, there's a line chart that says, yeah, I got my 400 done, or I'm supposed to average 40 a month, or whatever the number is gonna be. We want to track that. We don't want to let it get too far behind, otherwise we'll never catch up. There's gonna be a whole series of dynamic metrics
So-
that we at the board have an expectation of see from.
So-
Of course, Lynn's gonna figure out how to type it all up and make it print out automatically for you, right, Lynn?
Yeah. So, progress on directives is something we'll keep on the agenda. Maybe not every time we meet, but perhaps once a month or perhaps once a quarter. But progress on the directives is something we should look at on a regular basis. And that way, the board is clear what has been done, what is going to be done, when it's going to be done. So that's, I think that's a good observation. Just make sure we keep it in front of us. So, thank you. Want to move on? The next item was approved minutes. We have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of minutes to do. Having said that, because we ran into some problems with the 41C, issues on 41C, had to do a bunch of research on that, and problems with Munis versus Vision, we haven't really had a chance to go through the minutes in detail, so I'd rather do the minutes when we're all in the room, so we can make those adjustments as we go. Unless somebody has a problem with it, I would postpone this till our next meeting, if that's okay. Have you had a chance, have either of you had a chance to go through in detail all those minutes and make the adjustments you want to make?
Yeah, Brian, I haven't,
No,
you're,
you're not alone.
I've gone through most of it at this point, but
I've gone through some, but,
I think it would be easier when we're all in the room.
okay,
It just, let's get it done then.
okay. Thank you. Future topics, work breakdown structure, we'll keep that on the agenda for future topics. The BOA policies, I think that's always there as something we can just pop up into the current business whenever we need to. So I think we can talk about when the next meetings might be.
I do have a proposal for
Oh,
a
go ahead.
future topic. I think in our budget that we submitted to the town manager for this fiscal season, we were asking for a data collector. So at some point, we'll need to address how we're planning to accommodate the lack of a data collector in our budget and how we're going to get through that.
So the data collector, if indeed it is accepted at town meeting, wouldn't be hired until July 1st, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So until then, we have 2 people in the office through the end of May. So we have virtually all of June, that right now looks like we will have 1 person in the office unless somebody gets hired awfully quickly.
I was wondering, you know, we asked for that data collector position, but I wonder how much might be getting covered with contractual type stuff.
Today, not much,
Yeah.
I think. Is that fair?
I don't know, so that's why I was.
Yeah, no, I
it'd
think-
be a good future topic discussion.
That's why I was looking over there for them. But we could do another topic on the data collector for the next meeting. Is that what you want to do?
You might want to wait to see. I know Linda and I were both told at the department head meeting, it's on the top of the list for hirees.
Right.
So,
Right.
think she said part-time.
Yeah, we'll be looking, we had asked for somebody 19 hours.
Right.
And I believe, following up on what Rena said, it's right at the top of Heather's list.
Yeah.
Top, ahead of a lot of other things that are pressing.
It's just something we'll have to think about.
Yep. Please.
Just to build on Sarah's really good point, is that a work breakdown structure starts off with saying who does what, and what is required to be done. And then you can make the argument, we just don't have the resources, or maybe we don't have the resources. But Sarah's point was right, we need to at least define what goes on in that office and who is gonna cover it. And then who's gonna cover, Sheila doesn't come back for a while, where does that work go? Just sitting and
That's
waiting
pretty
for something to get answered, or,
coverage for Julie's.
we need to take the work breakdown right now, and then we can make an argument saying that this is not getting done, because we have nobody to do it.
Right. It's fair.
So I'm with Sarah.
Okay.
Is that what you were saying, Sarah? I think that's what you're saying.
I was just saying we need to think about how we're going to manage that.
Yeah,
You went a little further.
okay.
You've never done that.
Why stop?
So why stop there? So we had talked about potentially, is there anything else that, nope.
I'm good.
We had talked about potentially meeting, if we were on our normal schedule, it would have been April 22nd. Well, April 15th, but April 15th is a holiday. And none of these offices will be open or rooms will be open. So we had talked about maybe moving it to the 22nd. We would have to look for a site. Or we can move it to the 29th. I believe that no one is scheduled in any of the rooms on week 5. So we might have access to this room on the 29th. So do we want to meet on the 22nd and/or the 29th?
Can we pick one?
I'm nervous about going that far without having another meeting, because we've got
Oh, yeah, we got the other stuff to do.
small topics. If you want, I'll go and find one. Have you had a chance to go try and look at the DPW? They've got a conference room, I understand it's fitted out. You're making the case that you want to have a meeting sooner. When would you like to have that meeting? I'll find the room, so I'll do all the legwork and stuff. If the 15th is a holiday, then the 22nd is, let's do it then.
Is the 22nd doable for you?
Yeah.
Anybody else? I will try to find a room for April 22nd. I'm not going to try to schedule a room for the 29th then, because that would be consecutive weeks. And there were a couple of reasons to not do that, because if we were back on our regular schedule, we would then be going to May 6th and May 20th. So April 22nd gets us sort of on schedule, and I will find a location. Thank you.
Okay. And
That was the easiest scheduling we've ever done. Wow.
Hey, what's the date of the town meeting? In May what?
May 4th.
May 4th, oh, there it is, okay.
May the 4th be with you.
For school. There's the music man.
There you go. Oh, Dave, yes, is there a question?
Yeah, just waiting for public comment.
Oh, we'll be there in just a minute. Actually, very soon. So we're all in agreement on those dates?
Yes.
We'll get stuff, okay. We're moving to closing comments. Dave.
Good evening, guys. First of all, I just want to thank
Would you,
you guys for everything
since some of you may be watching this later, so would you identify yourself?
you're doing. Yes,
So-
I'm just going to do that. My name is Dave McDonald, 155 Island Road.
Thanks, Dave.
Williamsburg, Mass. I just want to welcome our new assessor, Mrs. McClay. Welcome to Williamsburg. I know you didn't have to go far from here, so thank you very much. It was a pleasure to meet all of you at the caucus the other night. Thank you for stepping up. I really appreciate that. Sarah and Ryan and Jackie always are there. So again, thank you for what you're doing, and I know it was a big mess over the last few months, and you guys are doing a great job. I called a lot of the residents thought that the bills were going to go out today. We were in the thick of it last year, and we were still very disappointed last year when the bills were mailed out late. Now, the only thing I was asking is that people are calling us asking what's going to happen. I was wondering if somebody could update the citizens, either on your Facebook page, the town Facebook page. I know Heather says she has it released, but Mr. Chair, you started to go over exactly what's happening, and that's what the people want to know, when they can file for an abatement, if they have to file for an abatement. How does that all work? And if you can outline something for the citizens, I'll be glad to pass it around to everybody that we know, especially in Zone 1. But I think the whole town really needs to know this. And as fast as we can get that out, the better it'll be, because, again, tomorrow is April 2nd, and it's going to go on. So those are my comments, but overall, we're very pleased with your performance, and again, thank you very much.
Thank you for the feedback. Yes, once we have a response from Heather, because Heather's putting it together from both of us. Once we have that, then we could post something out to the assessor's website, and in fact, we could put it up in the news site to give us a pretty good idea of when the bills are going out, when the abatements will have to be filed, when exemptions will have to be applied for. Fingers don't work so well anymore, sorry. So I think it's a great idea, and we'll make sure that it's out on the website. And I don't know if there are any other vehicles for communicating to the town. I wish there were. If somebody didn't, well, let me just.
We have a pretty good network too. If we could just get your response out, we could
Yep.
send it out to a lot of people.
Thank you. Thanks for helping. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And Heather's going to be, the town manager is going to be the Board of Select meeting tomorrow.
She's going to be at the select board meeting tomorrow, yep. So she should be able to give an update tomorrow as well.
That'll get some other people too.
But that actually will bring some more people in, because there'll be, more people watch that than this, I'm surprised. Thank you. Any other public comment? I can't see any other hands. Any other board comment? Closing comments from Ms. Cameron? Mr. Rabbit?
Thank you. No, also?
None from me. We will be retiring to executive session to discuss some exemptions. Now, how do we lock everybody else out of Zoom except for Mr. Rabbit? Can we do that? We will, are we going to be able to do that? We need to go through this executive session motion, et cetera, and vote on it.
I don't know, it's possible we could go to a private room. I don't know if we have that on the Zoom
I don't
or
know.
not.
We could shut everybody else out, but
You kill the Zoom, because I'm coming in through PAC. But is that becoming the public?
you're coming in through PAC?
I believe I'm coming.
No, you're not.
No?
We just heard PAC saying no.
No,
Well, it doesn't say Zoom on mine, that's just it. Okay.
Oh, no, but it is Zoom.
It
So
is Zoom.
what we can do is we can actually, I think you can disengage anybody who's not Jack from that, and then, so.
after we go to
So
executive session, we can
let's
try
do
that.
this executive session thing. So you're going to move that?
I move that we suspend open meeting and enter into executive session, not to return to open session after exiting executive session. We're motioning to enter executive session under Purpose 7 to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requests. Executive session, quote, "Applications for abatement or exemption under this chapter shall, except in proceedings before the county commissioners, the appellate tax board, or a court of the Commonwealth, be open only to the inspection of the assessors, the commissioner, the deputies, clerks, and assistants of either the assessors or the commissioner, and such other officials or designated private auditors of the Commonwealth." This is Chapter 59, Section 60 of Massachusetts General Law, as the law being cited. Motion to adjourn to executive session.
This will have to be a roll call vote.
Jack Rabbit?
Sarah Kammer?
Brian LaFont? We are unanimous. We can now, I believe, shut off the PA TV.